Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, where we decode the hidden stories within corporate filings. And today we've got a nugget from Western Uranium and Vanadium Corp. That might just surprise you with its quiet efficiency. Now, this isn't your typical blockbuster earnings report, it is an 8K filing, which usually means something significant happened that the company needs to tell the public right away. Think major events, big deals, or important announcements. And for Western Uranium and Vanadium Corp, the big news is a private placement, essentially a way for them to raise money by selling shares directly to certain investors, not on the open stock market. And they did this in October 2025. So here is the deal. On the 14th of October 2025, Western Uranium and Vanadium Corp, or Western as they call themselves, wrapped up something called a private placement. They sold over 6.5 million units. Each unit was sold for 90 cents in Canadian currency. This brought in almost 6 million Canadian dollars, which for a company like this is a pretty decent chunk of change. What is in a unit, you ask? Well, it is not just a plain old share. It is a share bundled with a special ticket, a warrant, that lets the holder buy another share later at a set price. In this case, they can buy an additional share for $1.2 Canadian. These warrants are good for a pretty long time, 4.5 years after the deal closed. To make this deal happen, they brought in a company called AGP Canada Investments, LC. Think of them as the main helper, the underwriter who organized the whole thing and found the buyers. Western paid this underwriter a commission, about 7% of the money raised. That is around $413,000 Canadian. On top of that, Western issued another kind of warrant, called broker warrants, to the underwriter. These have the same terms as the other warrants. The company's been pretty clear that they sold these securities outside of the United States, using a specific rule designed for international sales called Regulation S. Now, to make sure everyone knew about this money-raising event, Western put out a news release on the same day, the 14th of October 2025. This release announced the closing of the private placement, the very same deal we just talked about. This filing includes that news release as an exhibit, which is basically an attachment to the report. And that brings us to the exhibit section of the report. They've listed the news release as Exhibit 99.1. They also have Exhibit 104, which is a cover page interactive data file, a digital document for easier processing by regulatory systems. Essentially, they are being thorough about what documents they are attaching to this filing. Looking at the company's basic information, Western Uranium and Vanadium Corp is incorporated in Ontario, Canada. Their IRS employer identification number is 98 to 1,271,843, which is basically their tax ID in the United States for certain operations. Their main office is in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. One interesting note here is that Western Uranium and Vanadium Corp is identified as an emerging growth company. This means they get to use some relaxed rules for financial reporting, which can be a big advantage for smaller, growing companies. They have also elected not to use the extended transition period for new or revised financial accounting standards. This suggests they are confident in keeping up with the latest accounting rules. Now, let's put on our investor hat. We're not seeing detailed financial statements here, like a balance sheet or income statement in this particular 8K. This filing is primarily about announcing the completion of a financing event and a related news release. However, we can infer a few things. Western Uranium and Vanadium Corp is actively raising capital. This is a pretty common strategy for companies in the exploration and mining sector, especially those looking to fund new projects or expand existing ones. The fact that they raised nearly 6 million Canadian dollars with this private placement indicates there is investor interest. The crucial part here is that this is an unregistered sale of securities. This means they bypassed the usual lengthy and costly process of registering these shares with regulatory bodies for public sale. Instead, they relied on exemptions like Regulation S for international sales, meaning they are seeking investors outside the US. This allows for faster funding but comes with limitations on who can invest and how those securities can be resolved. For investors, this usually means they are accredited investors, meaning they have a certain level of wealth and sophistication. So, what does this mean for Western Uranium and Vanadium Corp? It means they have secured crucial funding to move forward with their business operations. For a company focused on uranium and vanadium, these are capital-intensive industries. This infusion of cash likely supports exploration activities, development of mining sites, or perhaps even acquisitions. The dual currency aspect is also worth noting, with transactions denominated in Canadian dollars but reported to the US Securities and Exchange Commission. Now, let's consider the story here. This isn't a story of booming profits or massive losses. It is a story of a company actively managing its finances to fuel its growth in a very specific and often volatile industry. Uranium and vanadium prices can fluctuate wildly based on global demand, energy policies, and geopolitical events. Western Uranium and Vanadium Corp is operating in that environment. And this financing is a step to ensure they have the resources to navigate it. What are the risks and opportunities? The opportunity is clear. Successful exploration and extraction of valuable minerals can be incredibly profitable. The risks are also substantial. Commodity prices can fall, environmental regulations can tighten, and geological surveys might not yield the expected results. The reliance on private placements also means they are beholden to the terms of those agreements and the appetite of a select group of investors. In conclusion, Western Uranium and Vanadium Corp has successfully raised capital through a private placement. This signals a commitment to growth and development in the uranium and vanadium sectors. While this filing doesn't offer deep financial performance metrics, it highlights a proactive approach to funding its ambitious operational plans. As an emerging growth company, they're leveraging certain regulatory advantages, which is a smart move to conserve resources. For investors, this means keeping an eye on how effectively this newly raised capital is deployed, and of course on the volatile but potentially rewarding markets for uranium and vanadium. Alright, that is our quick dive into Western Uranium and Vanadium Corp's latest filing. What is your take? Do you see this as a sign of strength or a necessary step in a challenging industry? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this analysis useful, please hit that like button and subscribe for more corporate deep dives. And don't forget to join our growing community on Discord, linked in the description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next decode.